You are listening to Where is the Music podcast. My name is Alberto, and on this program I will talk about music in all its forms. I discuss the creative part, the understanding of music, the role that music has in our culture, our shared life, our psyche, and I will do that with the help of my piano. You can find me on all major podcasting platforms and my work as composer, pianist and teacher at albertoferro.com. This podcast has no sponsor. If you like to support me, click the link to my Patreon page, available in the description. With a contribution as little as few dollars a month, you will significantly help me keep doing what I do. Now, on to this episode of Where is the Music? Hello everyone, and welcome back to Where is the Music podcast. Today I'm going to open the doors to my piano studio, as I did a few months ago when I was practicing a couple of jazz standards with you, and I'm gonna play and comment on a piece of music from the real book in this case, which I find extremely beautiful. I wasn't particularly familiar with it until I say this last year. The reason is probably because it's not too close to the repertoire of pianists on one side, but also it belongs to side trajectory of mainstream jazz. I'm talking about a song by the guitar player Pat Metheny called Midwestern Nights Dream. This tune was released in the album Bright Size Life in 1976, featuring, of course, Pat Metheny on guitar, but also Jaco Pastorius on bass. Before I say anything further, I want you to hear how it goes, the main theme, but even more importantly, the general feel. This is the main theme, and you can already hear how far away we are of any idea of traditional jazz. There is no swing, there is no dancing. You can't really think of a drummer pointing at any hard, strong drum beat, drum groove. So what is it about? In a sense, it puzzles me, but also it inspires me. I mean, the first connection that I make is with regards to the title, Midwestern Nights Dream. The reference is, of course, to Mendelssohn's Midsummer Night's Dream, taken from Shakespeare's play. The atmosphere, though, here sounds completely different. There is magic, sure, but a lot of melancholy. There is something dreamy about this tune, something particularly open, especially if you think about the rhythm, there are this all these windows of space with no note. These long resonances that are just meant to, open our imagination, and there is something dark. I suspect. I think this is why also I think the nights is called in. To me, the darkness is mostly coming out from this perhaps repetition, a bit obsessive and a bit sweet. We'll see later how such a groove, such a accompaniment will be relevant for the point that I want to make, more general point of music that I want to make. But more importantly, the term Midwestern is what strikes my inspiration, my imagination. Midwestern, we are obviously referring to the American Midwest, which is the north central part of the United States. This is a huge area. If you are familiar with the geography of the United States, includes states such as Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, North and South Dakota, and then Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Wisconsin. But possibly for the purpose of our conversation, it's important that it includes the so-called Great Plains and the Great Lakes. The first thing that I think about when I imagine this geographic area, although I haven't been myself, only from movies and songs, I imagine great natural spaces and great countryside landscapes, mountains and lakes. So there is a sense for me in this music that the composer here is responding to the sense of great spaces and a country, a land that is inherently part of the life of every human being that inhabits. This area particularly, I read, was the home of a great variety, a great number of Native American tribes, and is still culturally strongly related to the farmers. And in comparison to other parts of the United States, the Midwestern is considered perhaps one of the most, let's say, most relaxed, where the life goes a little bit slower and where things are a little bit calmer and quieter, where probably people appreciate more, for example, sitting on the porch and enjoying the view of the land in front of you. As a European, I don't have that much experience, or I respond and relate to the land I belong to in different ways, but I find this fascinating. So I have the impression that this tune somehow is able to give me a glimpse of what you will see or you will feel the moment you step out of your house and in the Midwest and look at what's surrounding you. So as I hear this melody and this slow groove, I have already the impression that what I am experiencing, what I'm witnessing is somehow related to big spaces. Music sometimes has this capability of being able to convey through sound things that are not acoustic, space and time. The composer here, Pat Metheny, is able to somehow make us imagine a huge space with a lot of air, perhaps even great landscapes, by letting the strings of his guitar, in my case the piano, just resonate freely with long pauses and allowing our mind to wonder, where are we? Where are we? So this is something that what other forms of art can do so universally and at the same time so individually. On this tangent, we can even start wondering, well, but if music can convey something so material like space, what other things can it convey? And how do musicians, composers are able to represent their imaginative space through sound? This is a beautiful question, one that I have chased the answer all my life, and very fascinating. Perhaps we can call this field the bridge between sound and imagination, creativity. A bridge that for the composer goes one way and for the listener goes in exactly the opposite way, from the sound back to the imagination. I would also say that the melodic form, the melodic design of this piece, at least the theme, the way it is conceived, somehow alternates phrases that are left there unfinished, such as this. Right? Already left open. Yes, it continues. But it doesn't really sound like an ending. This, I was saying, contrasting other phrases that seem to have some sort of stronger impetus forward. They gather momentum and they move forward, but not to reach much of a different conclusion, such as this. Right? Once again, we just stop there and contemplate this new harmony, and play it again and continue. And once again, things are just left open. The main reason why I really enjoy to play this tune particularly is because of the improvisation section, and this is where we probably can say more clearly, after all, the contract that I establish with my listeners here at Where Is the Music podcast is that words can just help understanding and explaining the music, but words will never be able to get to the core of it. For it, we just need to open our ears and participate in the listening experience. So the improvisation section is built on a loop, quite short, it's just 8 bars, and more than that, within these 8 bars, something else keeps looping. This. And again, and again, and again. You already have probably the impression that this song is not gonna go anywhere else. And you're right. The idea here is imagine sitting on a porch as the sun is setting and looking at around you. You have fields of grass, trees, mountains, lake. There's no one around, and you probably have seen this picture yesterday, the day before, week before, a year before, and you will probably see it for many years in the future. There is something about being in the same place that speaks to somehow who you are as a person, your home that defines you as an individual. And your home might be the place that just gives you the sense that you are in the right place, that there is nothing to change about it. This is a good thing, and so there is certainly perhaps a little bit of mind loop. Perhaps the repetition of these chords reminds of ideas that keep circling around. Perhaps the language doesn't develop. It's kind of still, it's gonna be still the same in 100 years. But at the same time, that's where you more truly feel yourself. And I think, well, let's listen to it again. I'm gonna start improvising. There is the impression that going around, you somehow have the opportunity to contemplate other things than what you see in the surrounding, but within yourself, perhaps. And this is the core of what I want to talk about today, because when we are witnessing someone making music, someone improvising, we are witnessing the conversation that someone establishes with themselves. And it is not very different from stopping and contemplating your own thoughts, seeing them appearing in your mind, and perhaps filtering them, trying to determine a trajectory to those thoughts. So what the composer does here is what I find the most remarkable thing about jazz, which is he's writing music that is not meant to lead you, but is meant to provide a context for you. So here is the context. So what does this make you think? What thoughts, what ideas, what rhythms, what trajectory, how will you dance on this? The beauty of this perspective is that the composer, Pat Metheny, knows that this inspires him, this context inspires him to create a conversation with himself, to inspires his thoughts and his ideas to emerge, and also knows that as the nature of jazz somehow requires, a player would want to do the same, would respond to the context, to the environment, to the surrounding with his or her own personal, individual take. And then from there, really, it's just up to you. How do you want to shape this relationship? The remarkable thing that these 8 bars of music somehow are able to epitomize very, very clearly, very well, is exactly how linear and simple the context for such a conversation with yourself should be. How not particularly complex. 8 bars, a loop. It's just the same chord over and over. This is perfect because in this context, a context that becomes familiar pretty much right away to you as a listener and to me as an improviser, at the 3rd bar already I start responding to it with my own thoughts and ideas and my own creativity. The accomplishment here is to realize that in order for this creativity to be triggered, there we go. You just need a simple enough context, very logical, somehow even predictable, to the point that you have your own creativity flowing. After all, think about it. When are you yourself able to come up with your best creative ideas? Perhaps is when you are focused, perhaps in silence, in quiet, perhaps when you have no distraction around you. Isn't this the right context for your own conversation to start emerging, to start getting to the surface and providing you with new thoughts? Here's what a good musician does. Instead of filling musical space with complicated chords and rhythm, he just gives you a straight line, a loop. And here we go. One can just let thoughts and ideas emerge. That's a beautiful way to think of improvisation. Just 2 chords and a simple rhythm. And just to make sure that we don't get lost, he added and again. The freedom of thoughts that one can, enjoy is certainly much larger than a typical 32 bars jazz standards. Obviously, this is just pretty much 2 chords, 1 scale, 1 key. The rhythm is very consistent. So a composition such as this by Pat Metheny wants you to align yourself with it. Is an opportunity offered by him to be part of this flow. This is also something that characterizes his own guitar style, his own jazz style. We can point out at the fact that Pat Metheny he came up during the 70s and 80s as a new wave, fresh take on jazz. But the main thing about him is that his music does not qualify as typical jazz mainstream. He brings the guitar in the conversation, which until then was mainly reserved to different genres, obviously rock, pop, country, and blues. Jazz certainly had important guitar figures. I'm talking about, of course, Charlie Christian, Django Reinhardt, Wes Montgomery, and many more, especially nowadays. The list is very long. But before then, every American guitar player, tended to be in the jazz world, tended to be localized within either mainstream jazz or a side branch such as soul, funk, or fusion. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, no guitar player would dare to put guitar strumming in his improvisation. Pat Metheny explicitly points at this technique as something that he really wanted to be part of his style. What is strumming? Strumming is a guitar technique that fills the space and keeps the groove, and is related to genres such as pop, rock, and country. It's a very, I would say, it's probably the most intuitive way of playing the guitar. That's why, in a sense, in the 70s, when jazz had already entered for a while its intellectual phase, along with many experiments and attempts at new ways of expression, into that period, into the phase of the arts, where people were extremely tired of the old ways, and they were trying to come up with rebellious and alternative ways of communicating creativity and beauty. Well, no one would have thought that strumming the guitar will enter the world of jazz from the main door. Pat Metheny manages to do that and offers a style that is innovative and at the same time very much referred to tradition. Coming back to this aspect of improvisation, I wonder what would be the best approach for creativity in this musical context. And I'm wondering about it because I noticed that not everything works in the same way. For example, what do you think of this? I liked it, but at the same time I had the impression I wanted to feel too much. So this makes me think, is the conversation I'm trying to establish with this groove one in which I lead, one in which I constantly come up with ideas and feel it? Or is a conversation in which I am more inclined to listen and contemplate what's the surrounding? Let's hear in this new frame of mind if something changes. I don't know what you think, but I felt better. It seemed to me that there was more alignment between the context produced by the accompaniment and the general rhythm and the melody on top and the improvisation. I often think of improvisation as this kind of free flow of thoughts, and particularly thoughts that might not be very clear, neither completed, neither finished. So sometimes the thought starts, it goes in a certain direction, and as it has started, it just disappears. So one can try to catch on and maybe force an ending to it, or force a continuation. But as many of these great improvisers show us, very often is much better to let it go and allow the listener to continue in their own imagination. Okay, I'm gonna play one time the entire song, and gonna make my final comment afterwards. That's a beautiful tune. It's fantastic to improvise on it, and certainly there are aspects of melancholy and sadness that I did not address, but I'm sure all of you have caught them and have noticed them. So, nevertheless, as I play this, I cannot avoid thinking of how far away this tune was originated, far away from me, from my life, from my culture. It was written before I was born by people I never met, from a culture I never really learned about or experienced really. I saw only pictures and movies from that part of the world, and nevertheless there is something we share, something particularly profound and universal, which is possible to share through this mysterious language that is music. This is my final thought, my final comment on this tune, Midwestern Nights Dream by Pat Metheny, who has been inspiring me all afternoon, and I hope has managed to inspire you as well a little bit today with me. I'm gonna put a link on it on the description of the episode, and that's it. I think I'll see you the next time here at Where is the Music Podcast. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in with me. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Where is the Music Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, look up for others. I made a few. I publish an episode every week roughly, investigating each time a different aspect of music, the music making, the music listening, the meaning of music, and its relevance in our lives. It is very helpful for me if you like, subscribe, follow on your favorite platform. Where is the Music is on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. If you like to support me, you're free to do so through Patreon, link in description. Thank you again. Until next time.